bit about this Dr. Bright. Okay, here's the timeline. You ready for this? And he is the director of this BARDA, and they're all about preparedness, getting our country prepared for anything that might come its way as far as radiological, chemical, biological, pandemics, all that stuff. So this is the guy in charge of us being prepared. And all of a sudden now he's coming out saying, hey, we got to do a whole lot more. Well, let's see what he did. Just what has he been up to in the past couple of years to prepare us for exactly such a time as this? That was my question. So I decided, you know what? I want to see what this guy's about. So here's a timeline. He was appointed by Obama, but it's not just that he was appointed by Obama that's curious. It's also at what point in time he was appointed to this BARDA group as the director. November 15th, 2016. Think about where you were then. I'll tell you where Trump was. He had just gotten elected as president of the United States. So it's quite interesting that here we have a president that's taking over. The presumptive Hillary Clinton didn't win. And that, of course, was Obama's favorite, right? Now, the interesting thing is, if she didn't win, why did he make this appointment right at the time that he did? I don't know. I didn't have time to really get into that, but I'm just going to go through a little bit more with you, and then maybe we together can come to a decision about that. Now, he was reassigned from BARDA in this big controversy that's going on right now, right around the middle of April. Around that time, we first started learning about this Dr. Rick Bright all of a sudden being reassigned, that he's an expert. And so many people came to me and they said, oh my God, what is Trump doing? How come he's taking an expert out of the field at the very moment we need him most? So I said, hold on, calm down. Let's wait until the facts play out, because if it's one thing I do know about Trump, it's that he does not get rid of really experienced people. But there were so many people in his administration, still holdovers from Obama, that are working against him. And we are learning that big time now, because the truth is finally coming out about the fake Trump-Russia collusion. So, okay, so he was reassigned in mid-April. So you always have to ask yourself, why, though? Why was he reassigned? Not just that he was reassigned. There's got to be a reason behind it, right? And he was actually reassigned to NIH to do help with diagnostic testing. Now, that sounds pretty important to me in view of the fact that we've really dropped the ball on testing, or the CDC at least have. And we've covered that in some of our other discussions. But a quote that just came out this past week from NIH, listen to this. We are deeply disappointed that he hasn't shown up to work on behalf of the American people and lead on this critical endeavor. So the guy's not working, but yet I find out he's making $285,000 a year on our dime, and he's decided to call in sick. Why? He said it was a spike in his blood pressure because of all of this. It sounds like the makings of the happenings of a lawsuit coming, folks, on our money once again. So it is behooving upon us to find out who this guy is, because I don't want to pay out of my pocket for some guy who's making, almost $500,000 on our dime. I want to find out, what has he done? Has he lived up to it? Has he actually made good on his half of the bargain? Okay, so remember how all this got outed. I want you to put this deep back into your memory for a second. Politico came out with, along with some other fake news media, left-leaning, we'll say, just for those who are joining us that don't believe in fake news or that it exists. But their quote was, ousted vaccine expert battles with Trump team over his abrupt dismissal. So by all accounts, it sounds so much like this was a horrible thing that Trump did. So he goes right out, and who does he hire to represent him? I mean, first of all, he's being given another Another place in the government to work that sounds to me like a pretty important position in spite of what we're going through today, and a place where he might be able to be of some real benefit. But he hires the same law firm that represented Dr. Blasey Ford, Christina Blasey Ford. Doesn't that sound kind of really suspicious to you? I mean, if I'm going to sue, I'm not going to go and pick the most controversial or law firm that handled a very controversial, very partisan, very biased. I just personally wouldn't do that just because of how it would appear. But I'll tell you what I did. I went to the BARDA website because I really wanted to find out who this guy is, and more importantly, what is BARDA's role in preparing our country for a pandemic? Does anybody know? Does anybody even know what BARDA stands for? It's a less than 10-year-old. I think it went into it was founded in 2005. Okay, and they have on their website, you can find it real easy, message from the director. So, believe it or not, that message from the director was last updated in 2011, which I found really curious too. It's like, what do they do all day? Isn't there somebody there that can update the public about what exactly the mission is of this BARDA that has a really important sounding name? Okay, now, it's so easy to find that I'm going to put it up here on the screen for you. Okay, right here, and right in the second paragraph there, move the cursor out of the way, read right where my cursor is, because they actually lay out right there, BARDA does, the director, back in 2011, but Robin Robinson, he specifies in here, the director even tells us actually how they've done in the past 5 years, and this is a projection of how they anticipate what they plan to do for the next 5 years. Now remember, this was updated and this was written in 2011. So this mission that we're about to read was going to cover years 2011 to 2016. Now that was, remember, before Dr. Bright was appointed by Obama to head up this BARDA department. Okay, so here's their mission. Listen to this. This is really wacky. I mean, actually, it sounds really good, but it's just wacky that none of it was ever done, as far as I can tell. Okay, it says that they have built, the past 5 years, this letter says, they have built a robust product development pipeline for nearly all types of threats that our country could face. Okay, so number one, they claim that they will be in the next 5 years, which was 2011 to 2016, developing and providing medical countermeasures for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats, pandemic influenzas, and emerging infectious diseases. Well, that sounds like the kind of spot we're in right now, doesn't it? They say also that they intend to provide support with product advanced development, stockpile acquisition. Weren't we just short of stockpile a little while ago? Manufacturing surge capacity infrastructure building, which means basically where we're going to get all this stuff from. Let's put it all together here. Product innovations, including, listen to this, vaccines, biological and small molecule therapeutics, antiviral drugs and antibiotics, diagnostics, I think that means testing, respiratory devices, which to me, we've heard all about ventilators lately, haven't we? And other medical supplies. So what's that telling us? PPEs, other medical supplies. Basically, folks, if they could have achieved all that, I think we'd all be happy having spent $285,000 a year on our Dr. Bright, don't you? But I don't see where any of that really came through. The message, by the way, on the director Robin Robinson's letter there that I'm showing you ends with, America is a prepared nation. That was back in 2016. So has anything happened between 2016 and January of 2020 that changed all that? Really? Can anybody think of anything that's happened that changed that for us? I don't know, except that Dr. Bright was appointed. Was he the fall guy? Was all that stuff ready to go and he somehow came in and mucked it all up? Or did Obama know he was incompetent and he was going to muck it all up? Or was it just never ready to go in the first place? And he was just the fall guy that was thrown in there to cover for the other guy. I don't know, folks. I don't know. But it definitely deserves further research, don't you think? So let me talk about Saul Alinsky's Tactic 1, because that applies here. And if any of you aren't familiar with Saul Alinsky, he wrote a book back in the 70s called Rules for Radicals. It's right behind me here. And it consists of, for those who are familiar with my book, you know I cover all of his tactics. He lays out 13 tactics to transform our country to socialism by imploding it basically on incompetence. That's one of their strategies. So these 13 tactics I took in my book, which is Rules for Deplorables, and you can get it. You see the little banner below me there. It tells you where you can get it on Amazon. It's got a 5-star rating. It is chock full of really interesting research that I've done on various current events that a lot of people don't even know are happening. And I refer them to about 400 footnotes, but I refer them each to Alinsky tactics so we can break these down. And let me break it down for you right now. Alinsky tactic number 1 in relation to this this doctor that just came and testified before the Congress. Alinsky tactic number 1 is power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. So it's a big illusion. So the left really wants to try to make you believe, or their enemy believe, that things are really rotten in Denmark. And that instills fear. It accomplishes 2 things. One, it confuses us. They want to confuse us because we're hearing that everything's okay, but then they're coming in and saying, no, actually, it's not okay. And this basically makes all of us very suspicious of each other. Now, they want us to believe that this Bright guy has legitimate warnings. What did he come in and testify before the group, the congressional group? He filled us with so much fear. He told us there's a dark winter coming. He told us, he used phrases like lost lives, no master plan, ignored warnings. These are all the ideas, the concepts that he set forth and put together with the Trump team, blaming the Trump team. And he said that the Trump administration was completely inadequate and unprepared. Is it true? Who's right? Or is Bright the incompetent one? Should he have been fired? Well, ask yourself this. Did his department accomplish their mission? We only have to look at how the response was to the pandemic and what the actual mission of BARDA was. And I don't know anybody in this country that would say they prepared us adequately for what came about. So no, I would have to say Bright and his department did not. They did not prepare us for what happened. And why isn't anybody asking them that question? What did you do? What didn't you do? How come your big plan didn't help our country? We have to stop buying into their scams, folks.